I think today's topic, as we discussed before, with circular economy and spending Bitcoin is super interesting. Why do you think it's so interesting? Like, why do you think it's so important that we spend our Bitcoin, that we have a circular economy, the medium of exchange side of things for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I have a ton of thoughts about all of those things. So I'll start with what I noticed when I went to my very first Bitcoin meetup in Vancouver. There was, I don't know, about 40, 50 people there. I was, it was awesome. And then I was talking to different people. I had some Bitcoin. I hadn't done that much with it. And one of the people showed me a Bitcoin moving across the Lightning Network. And this was in 2021. So it wasn't working as good as it is now, but it was still working very fast, very quick. It ended up in my wallet pretty much immediately. And up until that point, I had always been told, oh, Bitcoin's old technology, it's slow, like we need all of these other things because Bitcoin can't do this or that. And in that moment is exactly, I was almost a maxi. And then as soon as I saw that, I became a maxi. So what a lot of places in Vancouver have done is they accept Bitcoin, and usually they accept Lightning. So we're really lucky that we have a company called Coinos in Vancouver who has got so many people to accept Bitcoin. And then we also have the community of Vancouver. So some people, such as Leo, who are helping businesses get set up on Lightning as well. He's even helping some of them set up their own nodes and every Lightning nodes. And so when we have a community that's really embracing it, people are seeing that technology. It's just really important for all of the effects of it. And what's really cool is, I mean, you're way more self-sovereign accepting Bitcoin. And then we're starting to see second and third order effects in Vancouver because there are about 100 businesses accepting Bitcoin. So what ends up happening is, one block of businesses, one or two of them accept Bitcoin, then they see more people coming in and accepting Bitcoin, then other businesses want to know what's going on. So we're really lucky in that sense. And then we also do certain meetups at places that accept Bitcoin. So we're helping grow the community that we want to see. And so, yeah, I think it's really important it be used as a medium of exchange because all of the second and third order effects, they're hard to measure, but we are seeing them play out in real time. And also just the merchants who have like Bitcoin accepted here, stickers, stuff like that. People are seeing that, and just that brand recognition really, and just that it's actually easy to use and it settles quicker than a credit card payment goes through. Not a credit card settles, but it settles quicker than a credit card payment is approved, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's so quick and right now, like on chain, it's even quick and cheap because like there's not a lot going on chain for the transactions. But Lightning is yeah, as the name says, lightning fast.
Yeah, and then there's just so many different options now with Lightning, Liquid, Fedi, just all of those different ones, and some apps that are combining them, making it easier and easier. And another thing too that I really like about it is all of the people I know that are accepting Bitcoin, they want to get paid in Bitcoin. They want you to transact that way. And it's almost like more of a respectful manner when you pay them in Bitcoin because you know that that's what they want. They'd rather have that than fiat, which is really cool to see, and we keep seeing that grow.
That's interesting. So, like, why is it? Like, why do you see that it's more respectful in Bitcoin versus fiat?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for me personally, I would rather get paid in Bitcoin. And if I'm buying from a merchant, who's selling something for $10 to $50, they're putting some of their savings in Bitcoin, and they're supporting the community. Maybe they're coming to some of the events. They're advertising that they accept Bitcoin. I find it more respectful because I know they're saving in Bitcoin. I know that's what they want. You're saving the transaction fee. Yeah, so that's what I think on it being more respectful.
Interesting. Do you think that also for Bitcoin we need to embrace spending Bitcoin? So like before you already described the side of like why it's good for the individual and the merchant to have medium exchange of Bitcoin. But do you think it's also important for the overall adoption story of Bitcoin to have it also be used as a medium of exchange?
Yes, 100%. And there's people who I really respect in the space who have said Bitcoin will fail if it's not used as a medium of exchange. And I totally understand that point. I get that. The other thing, it can't be just a store of value. It has to have more utility than that, which uh, it does. And it's so easy to use, obviously, with all of these different things we've talked about. There is with it being a medium of exchange, you do see like the second and third order effects where people who don't know as much about Bitcoin start getting more interested in Bitcoin, and then that ends up growing the network. And that's really good to see. It's also when you just think about like game theory playing out in everything, why wouldn't you rather transact in something that has basically no fees and settles immediately? When I used to own a small business, sometimes it would take 4 business days for money from credit cards or online payments to end up in our bank account. So 4 days before I could use that money. Whereas with Bitcoin, especially as the circular economy grows, I get paid immediately and I can use that money immediately. Even like game theory suggests that that's the way it'll play out. And then that just fosters more adoption.
It's the first time someone on the podcast said that actually, and you probably are aware of that. Jeff Booth said it on my podcast. If Bitcoin fails as a medium of exchange, it will also fail as a store of value. It's a hard concept for me to grasp because we have a lot of assets that failed as a medium of exchange, like gold, and are still the biggest asset. I mean, the argument against that is like it could be so much bigger. It could be so much bigger if it also is used as a medium of exchange for everyone. But I'm still not 100% sure if medium of exchange is required in order to have the store of value. I'm 100% convinced of the other side of it, that we need the store of value without the store of value to have the medium of exchange, because why would they use it if there's no value in that? And I do think it's inevitable that medium of exchange comes, but that thought experiment is interesting. What if we don't spend it? Because if we don't spend it and just keep it, price and unfortunately price is a huge adoption factor. When price goes up, people come to Bitcoin. So I'm still wrestling with that point, and you're right. Like people that are so much smarter than me, like Jeff Booth, saying that, and I have a hard time challenging him. But that's one thing I'm just really wrestling with. Like, why is that? I mean, I guess if everyone is focused on the price only, maybe we kind of lose the focus on it being spent. But I think then it's more important that we do self custody and operate full nodes. So I'm just I have to reinvite also Jeff Booth on that man. Like I have to challenge him more on that. He probably will. He'll probably show me why it is like that.
Yeah, well, I'll expand on that a little bit. So with gold, the narrative still is that it is a medium of exchange. So when I talk to people, especially who are gold bugs, they always bring up how, they can exchange their gold for cash in a day. If anything went wrong in the world, their gold still has value. And so I think the narrative that gold still is a medium of exchange exists. And as I've learned dealing with gold a little bit, it's a terrible medium of exchange. One, because it's so heavy and it's super hard to transport. But the other thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize, if you want to sell your gold for cash, sometimes the difference between the price of gold and spot gold there might be a 10% difference on the actual price. So say it's trading at, around $3,300 an ounce right now. You might actually only be getting $3,000 in cash if you're actually exchanging it for cash. So part of the reason Bitcoin works better as a medium of exchange is the low fees and just how like transportable it is, which I know you know this, but that's just if the narrative of gold is alive that it's a medium of exchange, and we know Bitcoin is a better medium of exchange, it's going to just continue to go down that route and just increase adoption and everything. Um, would it fail if it didn't have that? If it wasn't a medium of exchange, I think no matter what, you want it to at least have the narrative, because gold sure does, and it has the biggest market cap, and it's not a very good medium of exchange, but people still believe that narrative.
Do you think that medium of exchange is kind of the more important narrative overall than the store of value one?
No, I don't. I mean, I think the most important narrative is just the sovereignty of it and being able to keep your Bitcoin in cold storage, storing it properly. The both are important. The problem I have with number go up is just sometimes it doesn't bring out the best characteristics of Bitcoin. But that obviously number go up and store of value has been a really good narrative. With store of value, though, as long as you've had a time frame of at least 4 years, it's been the best type of savings account you can have. I do see that continuing to be the case. So it's just a combination of those three things really that kind of go hand in hand. And we are obviously still really early with adoption, with people using it as a medium of exchange. I know I'm super lucky, like living around the Vancouver area where within a day's drive, there's probably about 120, 130 places I could go to that accept Bitcoin. But my friend Cole and I, in one day, we went to 23 different merchants in Vancouver that accept Bitcoin just to be able to see how many like we could go to and transact at in a day. And being able to see the different people who are accepting it is really eye-opening and just makes the whole space so much better. And the narrative of giving, small business owners, well, any individual, that kind of responsibility and opportunity is just so important.
It's super interesting with Canada. There's a lot of strong Bitcoiners coming out of Canada, but it feels like the politics doesn't support that. It's more grassroots and not at all from the top down anything.
No, bottom up, which is, it's pretty crazy how Bitcoin has done so much from the bottom up. And I've heard people be like, oh, yeah, Bitcoin adoption goes well in Canada because Canada needs it. And I don't know if that's the case or not, but there's just so many people that are curious and that want better. They want to build the future they want to see. That's what I see when I'm around all of the Bitcoin people. So yeah, we're really fortunate to be able to have the growth, adoption, the quality of people in the space, even though we don't necessarily get the most support from elected officials.
It's super interesting. When you're doing the community managing and you talk with a lot of Bitcoiners, I presume.
Yeah.
What are the most interesting stories and the most interesting things that you hear about Bitcoin that you might miss on online places?
Yeah, that's a good question. Lots of demand for non-KYC Bitcoin, that's for sure. One of the more interesting stories that I heard from someone is that, well, just that how they're able to transact not quite across the world, but in Europe and Canada using the Vexel app. So that's been really cool to see someone actually doing that. I haven't really traveled that much since I've been doing community management for Vexel. But yeah, someone who I originally met some of the team, um, I believe at like the conference in Amsterdam, was interested in Bexel, tried it out while he was in Europe in a few different spots, and then came to Vancouver, and we had a mutual connection. So we were able to connect through the app. And then he bought some Bitcoin off of me. And then before you know it, I was getting either a message from him or someone else I know being like, hey, do you know this person? I want to sell to them. Or he was asking, he wants to buy off this person. And so within like, I don't know, a week of him landing in British Columbia, he was already buying off numerous people in Vancouver. And then I know he's been buying in other places in Canada as well, which is, it's just really good to see like how it is working. And then with the team being in the Czech Republic, uh, they have, I think they might have mentioned it on the podcast before, but someone was selling frozen squid that they had just caught. And so someone was selling frozen squid for, or fresh maybe, for Bitcoin. And it's like, it's working almost like a farmer's market would work in certain places, which is really cool.
That's awesome to hear. That's actually a topic I think that comes really short on the podcast, the value of non-KYC Bitcoin. How do you look at that and why it's important to have non-KYC Bitcoin versus KYC Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's really good to see some people who are getting into Bitcoin later than I did are buying 100% non-KYC Bitcoin. And the main benefits of that are, uh, well, I mean, you're not giving up all your information. I remember signing into an app, you know, you do the Face ID scan, couple passwords. They don't encourage you to take it into self custody necessarily, depending on which app. There's some that are better than others. With non KYC, you just don't have to deal with any of those things, which is really nice. And I mean, you're keeping the government, the reporting agencies out of your Bitcoin, which why do they need to know if I'm spending, you know, $5 on a coffee or what I have in savings? Um, the other nice thing too with the non KYC, especially if you're paying with Bitcoin, depending on how like the merchant's accepting Bitcoin, there's no way to tell like that I bought something from that merchant. Whereas, you know, if you use your credit card, it's linked to your credit card, your bank account, all of that. So it's a better way to buy Bitcoin. And I know people are even paying a premium for non KYC Bitcoin compared to Bitcoin from an exchange, which shows that there's extra value there.
Yeah, like people are they want the non-KYC Bitcoin so much that they are willing to jump through different hoops to get it, and also then pay a premium. So there seems to be something important they want to maybe prepare for, prevent for, which is really interesting. Why do you think this is important? Like when you look at the future, maybe there's like some law coming. I mean, in Europe we have this currently, this travel rule, which is really bad. I mean, the reality right now is not as bad, but if this all comes like that, it will be probably really bad. I don't know how it looks in Canada. Also don't know how it looks in America. But why do you think this might be a good thing for future preparations to have non-KYC Bitcoin?
Yeah, the main reason is just it's so mobile, having non KYC Bitcoin, and the travel stuff. Like, I mean, you're not allowed to travel with over $10,000 in cash, but non KYC Bitcoin. The reason I have my non KYC Bitcoin is I know I can do anything with it in the future at my own free will. Whereas any KYC Bitcoin, it's mostly likely tied to some type of exchange, some type of business, which wherever they're they reside in. They probably have to give up that information to like government or police in the future if it was ever requested. So it's just another layer of protection, essentially. And, knock on wood, never going to have to use it. But I like having that option. Yeah, people are spending more effort to get non-KYC Bitcoin. And that's one of the good things with Vexel is that they have made it so much easier to be able to do that. And then building that trusted network, even just building that trusted network and finding different merchants, people that you can exchange Bitcoin for, goods, services. You're building a stronger network no matter what happens in the future. But like we're really lucky, like, we have a butcher, we have different restaurants. Having those in your network, if anything did change in the future, like it just makes it stronger and more mobile.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.